Christian Geek Central is doing Extra Life again this year to raise funds for children in urgent need of medical care. You can help us out and get some fun rewards at the same time. Stick around after the video for more details. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. We've got a ton going on here at Spirit Blade Productions and Christian Geek Central, including our in-depth Bible study for geeks, movie, game, and other entertainment reviews or commentary, live streams, Christian geek news, original audio dramas, and tons more. And on top of all that, you can become a Spirit Blade insider with an influential voice and get access to exclusive content and rewards. It's your involvement as a patron that will keep all of this going and growing, so I want to thank you for your consideration in that. For more information, please check out our Patreon page through the link below at patreon.com/spiritbladeproductions. Thanks for listening. christiangeekcentral.com. I do not understand what I do, but for what I want I do, Chesed, son of Shalom, Ahiez, or Pedaz, or... That really means something, doesn't it? So we've arrived at chapter 3 of Proverbs. We're going to look now at verses 21 through 26. In the ESV, that reads, "My son, do not lose sight of these. Keep sound wisdom and discretion, and they will be life for your soul and adornment for your neck. Then you will walk on your way securely, and your foot will not stumble. If you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. Do not be afraid of sudden terror or of the ruin of the wicked when it comes, for Yahweh will be your confidence and will keep your foot from being caught." All right, what if anything in those verses pops out at you?
Well, the general theme of those verses is just the safety and security that comes with wisdom and with discretion. I think a lot of times we don't think so much about discretion, and we always, most of the time we hear it as right on television. Viewer discretion is advised, right? That's what our general association with it is. But discretion has a lot more to do with really taking a look at a situation and deciding, do I really want to get into that? Do I really want to get into that argument with someone who doesn't agree with me? Do I really want to put my family in danger in a situation? And so we don't often think so much about discretion and the wisdom that comes with it. And the idea of not being afraid of sudden terror or ruin of the wicked when it comes. What I like about that is Solomon doesn't say that there won't be terrifying times in your life and that there won't be ruin in your life, but that you don't need to be afraid of it because you have wisdom on your side and you have God on your side. And so those, I would think, would be the two biggest things that stick out to me. What about you?
Well, again, I see this idea of remembering, which you and I, before we started recording, touched on that. Again, he starts repeating himself, a little bit as we move forward, and with good reason, because we forget so easily, Mm-hmm. So don't lose sight of these, he says to his son. And then in 22 through 26, what kind of occurred to me as I was reading these words is that wisdom is not this cold set of rules. Wisdom results in good things for us. The author acknowledges that bad days will come, as you just said, but wisdom helps us to endure and keeps those days from being even worse than they already are. Suffering or difficulty in life isn't necessarily our fault, but often those situations could be much less upsetting to us if we are more wise in our thoughts and actions. Let's see, verses 27 through 35, I'll read again from the ESV. It says, "Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due, when it is in your power to do it. Do not say to your neighbor, 'Go and come again tomorrow, and I will give it,' when you have it with you. Do not plan evil against your neighbor who dwells trustingly beside you. Do not contend with a man for no reason when he has done you no harm. Do not envy a man of violence, and do not choose any of his ways, for the devious person is an abomination to Yahweh, but the upright are in his confidence. Yahweh's curse is on the house of the wicked, but he blesses the dwelling of the righteous. Toward the scorners, he is scornful, but to the humble, he gives favor. The wise will inherit honor, but fools get disgrace. All right, 27 to 35, a few different things there. What do you think?
Right. So in verses 27 through 30, he's talking about being a good neighbor. And I think that in this day and time, given the types of communities that we live in, and the fact that with most families, both parents are working, there's not really much time to be neighborly. And I know, my wife stays at home, and we're kind of guilty of that ourselves. So, we've reached out to a few of our neighbors and things like that, but for the most part, we haven't been as proactive as I think we could be. Certainly, when our neighbors come to us and say they need something, we're there to help them. And what I like here is that Solomon does not make a distinction between whether or not that neighbor is following God or not.
Sure. That
if they're our neighbor, we're supposed to act a certain way towards them, regardless of their worldview. And I think that's one of the most important things, being able to share what God has blessed you with. I think this ties a lot into in the previous verses where it talked about the sudden disaster or terror that's coming. Mm-hmm. If there's a disaster, if there's something, there's a lot of people who, they're preppers and they're prepared for some kind of disaster. And I remember years ago listening to someone who was a Christian and also into preparing for a disaster. And he said, the reason we're doing this is not so that we can just hole up and lock ourselves into our house. It's so that when our neighbors come to us in that time of need, in that time of disaster, we can provide for them, and that can be a witness to them of who the Lord is and how the Lord has worked in our lives.
Wow, yeah.
And then for verses 31 through 35, just not looking at not being envious of a wicked and evil lifestyle. It's very easy for us to look out into the world and say, well, they're acting this way and they've got gain and they're popular, they're whatever the case may be. And it can sometimes be a little discouraging to see someone who is just, they've got a filthy mouth, a filthy attitude, or whatever the case it is, but yet they still seem to be better off than you are. And that can be tough, and it's important for us not to be envious of that, because ultimately we know that everyone is going to receive justice equally from God. And obviously it's our prayer that everyone would be seen just in God's eyes, but we know that that's not the case, and that should actually give us compassion for those people in that, knowing that this is probably the only happiness that they're going to have in eternity.
Yeah, we're getting kind of like a peek behind the curtain. We're getting some of God's perspective, His view. Sometimes we can. Even without this, we ought to be able to figure out from examples of seeing how many celebrities' lives fall apart. Their marriages are broken. There's so much stuff going on, and they clearly don't have it made in life, even though they've got all this money, they got all this fame, and they get to be in these crazy movies with green screen magic happening around them. I'd love to live that fantasy, but I mean, I don't want to live that actor's life.
Right.
And we do see enough of that it should be a tip to be like, I shouldn't necessarily assume that such and such a lifestyle, means that I'm going to have these feelings about myself and about life in general. But even on top of that, we're looking behind the scenes, and you see that the wise will inherit honor, but fools get disgrace. So no matter what we're seeing, as you just said, there's and this could also be applying to what's going on in this life, what they're experiencing in this life, what they will tend to experience that we're just not exposed to and we're not seeing happening, in addition to eternity. That's one thing I like about the Proverbs and Hebrew teaching in general is sometimes it'll have these compact layered meanings where one is talking about, one layer you can look at it and say, this is speaking to this eternal truth of like what's going to be coming in the future in eternity, but at the same time it's also speaking to a truth that's present in the now. This was a line that jumped out at me more than I'd ever had before. Verse 30, do not contend with a man for no reason when he has done you no harm. That's an easy one to blow past because I can think to myself, I don't do that, but how many times have I had a day where I just got my own thing going on, that's gotten me all upset and worked up and stuff, and I snap at either my son, or I'm just less patient with somebody either online or that I know personally or whatever, I think it speaks to that as well. Do not contend with a man for no reason when he has done you no harm. I mean, just take a look at what is just and fair as you are interacting with people, and be careful that your flesh is not being unjust toward other people because of what you got going on, Hey guys, Peter Franson here from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. For my 5th consecutive year, I'm participating in Extra Life, a charity event that raises funds to provide medical care for children in urgent need. I'm also leading the Christian Geek Central Extra Life team, which you're still welcome to join by following the link in the description below. Once again this year, I'm drawing attention to our team's fundraising by performing a 24-hour marathon of video gaming that I will live stream to youtube.com/Christian Geek Central and christiangeekcentral.com beginning 6 a.m. Pacific Time on Saturday, November 3rd. My goal is to raise $200 for my children's hospital. Our total team goal is to raise $700. You can donate on my page or any team members' pages by following the links below. You'll also find some incentives and rewards for donating to some of our team members. On my page, for example, for $5 or more, you can choose a topic to add to my +2 page of many topics that I'll be blabbing my opinions on during my live stream. For $10 or more, you get that previous reward and a download code for a free copy of the Spirit Blade Legacy Edition audio drama. For $20 or more, you get the previous rewards and you can choose a game for me to play during my November 3rd live stream. You can pick a favorite of yours that's in my library or torture me with something terrible or rage-inducingly difficult. For $30 or more, you get the previous rewards and you can choose a song for me to sing during my November 3rd live stream. Pick an old favorite of yours or just make me humiliate and torture myself with something that nobody wants to hear. For $50 or more, you get all those previous rewards and you get a download code for every MP3 product at spiritblade.com. That's a $90 value. Now, on top of all that, I've set fundraising milestones that will unlock crazy events as I reach them in my personal fundraising. When I reach $200, I will have a free download day for everyone who visits spiritblade.com on November 7th this year. And every $50 beyond $200 unlocks more free audio dramas for that free download day. Along with free audio dramas, reaching milestones in my personal fundraising will unlock weird stunts that I will pull during my November 3rd live stream. like turning into a monster, reenacting a moment from a favorite horror movie, or playing intensely embarrassing home videos from my past. Now, there are some stipulations and time limits on those rewards and milestones, so quickly follow the link below to my fundraising page for all of the details. I hope you'll be a part of helping me and the Christian Geek Central team do some good for some kids who really need it. And then please join me at youtube.com/ChristianGeekCentral for my 24-hour video gaming marathon starting at 6 a.m. Pacific on Saturday, November 3rd. Hope to see you then.